and we all had to line up opposite from where the bigwigs stood. And my unit, and obviously I was in the first row, so I happened to be positioned directly opposite the grandstand. I remember actually, like absolutely directly opposite me was Egon Krenz.
Welcome to Cold War Conversations.
This is the British Broadcasting Corporation.
Fünf, zwei, sieben, eins, sechs, sechs, neun, acht, drei.
Poland's military leader, General Jaruzelski, urged the Polish people tonight not to demonstrate on Tuesday, the second anniversary of the founding of the banned trade union Solidarity.
And I'm here to host this final program from the German Democratic Republic for you.
In this episode, we welcome back Torsten Belger, a former East German army officer. Torsten was part of the 40th anniversary parade of the GDR, which, unknown to him at the time, would be its last. He tells of the training for the parade and his meeting with Yasser Arafat, the head of the Palestinian Liberation Organisation. Torsten also shares how he heard about the unrest sweeping the country and his introduction to anti-riot training. The episode ends with Torsten telling us about his gradual realisation that the country he had known his whole life was falling apart. Before we start, I'd like to thank all our Patreons who donate monthly to support the podcast further and get access to some exclusive extras. Monthly donations can be as small as $1, a quid or a ruble, and every donation helps keep us broadcasting and expanding the show. It's dead easy. Just go to our website, coldwarconversations.com, and click on the Support the Podcast menu option. Now back to today's episode. We start with Torsten telling us about the month leading up to the 40th anniversary parade. We welcome back Torsten Belger. I understand that you did participate in the 40th anniversary parade.
Oh, yes.
Can you take me through that day?
Just that day?
Well, no, I'd take me through whatever you want to.
It took more than months leading up to it.
Yeah, no, please do.
Right. Well, obviously, 1989 was obviously 40th anniversary of East Germany, of the state, of the GDR. And the traditionally 7th of October is the 7th of October 1949 was the day of founding of the East German state. And traditionally there was always an army parade in Berlin, in the Karl-Marx-Allee in Berlin on the 7th of October. And obviously it being around anniversary, it being, the 40th anniversary, was going to be a big one. And traditionally the marching units at those parades were always third year officer students from all officer colleges.
Okay.
I happened to be third year officer student in 1989. So about a month before that, I don't know, beginning of September, end of August, can't remember now exactly when that was, but selection process started at the officer colleges. Where you had to, stand for a couple of hours, basically stand still, and not everyone could do it. Some conked out, and the tallest were taken out because obviously they wouldn't fit into the uniform look. The shortest were taken out, so that sort of selection process started about a month before the parade. Good months before the parade.
Right.
And then we received special training which we had to do on the autobahn in near Görlitz, actually.
Right. So this was a practice in replacement of the Karl-Marx-Allee.
Yeah. So initially, before going to Berlin, there were practice runs on the motorway, on the autobahn, which would have been closed for traffic, obviously. Luckily.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we might have had a problem. I think it was the autobahn between Dresden and Görlitz that we were sent, and there were marching training, marching exercises there. Because obviously, we did plenty of marching and parade marching, and obviously in the army every day.
Yeah.
But then to march in a big block like that, which is 12 by 12 people, that's unusual. You wouldn't normally do that. That's just for the big parade.
Yeah.
So that had to be learned.
Right.
Because of my height, I ended up being in the front row of my marching block. I got special training.
Yeah.
Special attention. Because we were the ones that you would see on TV.
Yeah.
And that you would notice.
Right.
If we were out of step and stuff like that. So there was a lot of training.
Right.
Yes. There was a lot of training leading up to it. And then I think, can't remember now if it was 1 week or 2 weeks. So I think it must only have been 1 week. 1 week before the actual parade, then we were sent up to a camp near Berlin. In Königs Wusterhausen, which is just south of Berlin. We were sent up to a camp and we got extra special parade training then. But that was just the week leading up. And the parade training then was done at Schönefeld Airport.
Okay.
So the last week, or last 2 weeks, I just can't remember now, it was 2 weeks. But so the last 1 or 2 weeks of the parade training was very intensive. Basically, it was from morning till evening, marching. And parade marching, parade step. Not goose step. Goose step is a different thing.
Yeah.
People get confused with that. That's Stechschritt. Stechschritt is goose step.
Yeah.
That's what the guards at in Berlin, at the Neue Wache, for example. Yeah. Yes, that's what those guys did.
Right.
But that's not what ordinary, humans did.
Yes.
So we had that training then near Berlin. And like I said, very intensive. We got visited then by dignitaries, obviously. So, obviously, of course, like Heinz Kessler would have come, the chief, the Minister of Defense. Yeah. Minister of Defense was there, Erich Honecker was there, Gorbachev was there.
So you saw
Arafat was there.
You saw all of those?
Shook hands with 1 or 2 of them. Yes.
Really? Who did you shake hands with?
Arafat.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So, but only like, hi, how are you doing? So
nothing,
not never conversation or anything like that.
But no. But not Eric. He didn't shake hands with you.
No, didn't get close enough.
No.
No, didn't get close enough to him. Didn't get close enough to Gorbachev either. But I saw them.
Yeah.
That obviously, well, once saw them, visiting our camp, where we were stationed, located for the final parade training. And then, of course, would have seen them again at the parade itself. And I've seen Erich Honecker once or twice on other occasions as well.
Yeah. And what was that? Was he just looking at a line of soldiers, or did he actually interact with soldiers?
No, some chats. Yeah. They would have. Well, they didn't actually come to the camp. They came out to Schönefeld. They came, during
just
the
before.
Day. Yeah, during the day just before, during the day while we were doing the parade training on the airfield, on the runways at Schönefeld Airport. They came out there basically to have a look and to view, and then they would have mingled a little bit and then buggered off again. Yeah. Basically, but it would have mingled a bit and would have had chat with a couple of people that happened to stand in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Or right place, depending how you look at it.
Yeah.
So it did all that, and then the actual parade itself, obviously, yes, it was something special. Yeah. And thinking about it now, yes, it's a memory.
And I presume at the time you felt really proud that you'd been chosen for that and that you were front row.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, not overly. I mean, not like grinning and smiling and and skipping and
but this
not like that.
But this was the biggest event in the East German calendar, wasn't it? Really?
Yes. Yes. So yes, 7th of October was the biggest event. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, that and 1st of May maybe, but 7th of October was the biggest event. Yes, and on the 6th of October at night there were fireworks all over the place.
Yeah.
Obviously, 7th of October was a bank holiday.
Yeah.
As well for everyone. My birthday is on the 6th of October, by the way. So every time on my birthday, there were big fireworks at night.
Just for you?
Exactly. I think until I was about 4 or 5 years old, I didn't quite understand why. How could they know that it was my birthday? Why were they doing fireworks on my birthday? Who knew?
Oh.
I genuinely thought it was for my birthday, which of course it wasn't. But there you go. Yeah. No, and then the parade itself. Yeah, no, we did it, and all this other stuff going on, which I guess you're probably going to lead on to now, all the other demonstrations going on at the time. We knew nothing about that.
Right. Because you were really sealed off from the rest of the world.
We were totally sealed off, yes, and deliberately sealed off. So, while we were at the parade training, just before the parade, couldn't have had contact with the outside world. It wasn't possible. Living in Zittau, which is, in Tal der Ahnungslosen, this valley of the clueless, you didn't get West German news, you didn't get West German media. All we had was East German news.
Yeah, or Polish or Czech.
Polish or Czech, but there was no point watching it. Wouldn't understand anything anyway. But and obviously the East German news didn't report anything about demonstrations in Leipzig or in Dresden or anywhere else. No, I don't think there was anything really. Just try to remember, maybe there was a little bit about unrest, and there may have been news snippets about that there was some civil unrest effectively in Dresden, for example. Street fights sort of thing, and that they were put down by the police, etc. And
hooligan activity.
Hooligans, yes, unruly subjects, But all this stream of people leaving East Germany, going through, obviously initially Czechoslovakia and then Hungary into Austria, that was not reported.
Yeah,
of course it wasn't.
Absolutely.
It would have promoted maybe more people going the same route. So, but it was very heavily reported in West Germany, of course, but in East Germany it wasn't. So we didn't really know anything about that at that time. One thing, after the parade, obviously because of this sort of 1 month intensive parade training that we've had, and all leave cancelled during that time because of parade training, we were promised to have an extended holiday immediately after. So it was only a matter of coming back from Berlin, go back to Zittau, dump all our stuff, and off you go on holiday. So we did that. We came back, which was in cattle trucks, by the way, on trains. Not nice.
No.
So after all this pomp and showing
being
off,
looked after and
kind of Well, you were never looked after that much in the army, but certainly not as an officer student. But then we were carted back in cattle trucks. It was 8-10 people, 8-10 of us in cattle trucks. That was it. It carted back to that took 16-18 hours, something like that, nearly a day, because they just kept putting them onto site.
More important trains were coming through.
More important trains, where ours was like an unscheduled train, so it was always put to the side, had to wait for others to go past, and it took nearly a day. Just getting back after the parade.
Just going back to the parade, I think there's some footage on YouTube where you feature, don't you? Because one of the official cars stops in front of your unit. Yeah.
So obviously, we had to do the marching past bit first, and then basically you did a U-turn at the end, and we all had to line up opposite from where the bigwigs stood, from where the tribune, what's that in English?
The stand,
the
grandstand.
The grandstand, that's it. Opposite from where the grandstand was, and my unit, and obviously I was in the first row, so, even when lining up there, I was still in the first row. I was tallest first, and then got shorter, gradually going towards the back. So I happened to be positioned directly opposite the grandstand. I remember actually, absolutely directly opposite me was Egon Krenz. So,
he's pretty unmissable, isn't he?
Well, it's quite a distinctive face, I think. So you know what he looks like when you see him. And so he was directly opposite me. So I was basically, he was sort of towards the center. So we were positioned directly opposite, and in the video then, which you can watch obviously on YouTube or wherever, which was the official video of the official broadcast on East German television. My parents taped that at the time as well. They got somebody who had a VHS recorder.
So did they make it down to the parade to see it? No,
they didn't. No, they wouldn't have been interested.
Yeah.
But they taped it for me.
But they did want to tape it.
Yeah. So even though there were no VHS players, but certain people had some. Well, it's another. But yeah. So anyway, so the video you can see there. I just happened to be in that place, where the two cars stopped. Which is the two cars. One of them was Heinz Kessler, who was the Minister of Defense, and the other one was Horst Stechbart, who was the Deputy Minister of Defense.
Right.
And they just happened to stop right in front of me to greet the parade, to say their thing, wir begrüßen Genossinnen und Genossen, blah, blah, blah. And
well, we'll be posting that YouTube piece on the show notes so that
well, there you go. So for
people can, and I think you've got I noticed you've got a still as well of, or you've managed to get a screen grab of it.
Well, it's the thing like, I know where I am and I know who I am. So obviously for me, it's kind of relatively easy to pinpoint where I can be seen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, you wouldn't recognize me.
No.
Well, you wouldn't anyway. Everyone looked the same. We were all wearing the same uniforms and we were all wearing a big helmet.
Absolutely.
So,
what about on the march past? Did you manage to identify yourself on that footage? Yeah.
Yeah, but you can only see sort of my head bobbing up and down.
Right. Okay.
Not full on.
Yeah. No, on the screen grab you've got, you can.
Yeah, but that's when we were lined up.
And you're still, and it's easier to capture.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I can tell you where my unit is on the march past because I recognize plenty of other guys.
Yeah.
In the video, and I know where I am, but you can't see me on it.
Yeah. Okay.
No. You can't have everything, can you?
Well, no. I mean, that's pretty. I'm still pretty impressed that you were on the. I'm speaking to somebody who was on the 40th anniversary. The last parade of.
Which obviously nobody knew at the time. It would be the last.
Absolutely.
And we didn't know. Nobody knew. And nobody possibly could have foreseen that. Not the people doing the demonstrations. Not nobody.
Yeah.
At that time. Could have foreseen what was about to happen.
No.
About a month later. But today, 9th of November. So
absolutely. It's so apt. I forgot to tell people this, but we are actually interviewing Torsten on the 9th of November, so the day the wall fell, 29 years ago.
Yes. Next year's the big one.
We are talking. So, and next year is the big one. What did the troops think of the regime away from the ears of the political officers? What did people criticize or what?
It's human nature to always moan and whinge and mumble and grumble, and that's human nature. It was the same in East Germany, same in the Soviet Union, same anywhere. So of course, people would have been whinging and moaning and complaining. Just had to be a little bit watchful about how you complained, what you complained about, and who you complained to.
Yeah,
of course, but that was just second nature to everyone, to most people, certainly. And so you knew what you could say, what you shouldn't say. You knew who you could be more open to. Didn't make you feel repressed or gagged or anything. I didn't have that feeling. You just that's the way it was. You just sort of had to fit into that role.
Yeah. Somehow.
So and being army specifically, of course, if you had a complaint, you could complain. Not about the state, of course. Or ideological reasons.
But a shortage of equipment or something like that.
Shortage of equipment, or if you didn't agree with certain parts of the training or how you might have been treated by a superior officer. Yes, totally. You could complain, and your complaints would have been listened to.
Yeah.
To the most part.
Yeah.
And action may have been taken. You wouldn't have had any negative impact because of saying something along about that.
Constructive criticism,
exactly. And you were encouraged to open your mouth if something was wrong. And obviously, me being, having been going through officer training, we were constantly obviously taught about ethics and how to treat and what you're allowed to do and what you're not allowed to do when dealing with your subordinates once out, commanding units. And the East German army was not like the Soviet army. Soviet army was a bit different. I had a fair bit of interaction with Soviet army and Soviet army officers, and they treated the conscripts like they were slaves. Basically, they were beating them, they were kicking them, they were hitting them. Couldn't believe it when we saw that. It would have been impossible in the East German army.
So you did do some work with the Soviet army or some Soviet army officers?
Yes.
And what was? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, at school I was in the sort of Russian language club. So and I was the FDJ secretary at school, was effectively the head boy at school. And Russian language club meant, well, those that were better at languages, basically, would have been in clubs like that. And specifically for the Russian language club, our Russian teacher was a lady at hjis, at the higher school. And she had very good links with the Soviet army garrison in town. We had the Soviet army garrison in my hometown.
Right.
It was a Soviet tank regiment, that was stationed there. And she had very good relationship with them and knew a lot of people there. So we had a lot of interaction from within that group.
Yeah.
The ordinary sort of people in East Germany wouldn't have had much interaction with the Soviet army at all. So, but we had meetings. We went to officer families' houses, flats, to have dinner with them, to have not parties, but get-togethers, and to talk to them. Went into the garrison, met with children. I went to there was a big Soviet army school for children in Magdeburg, which I visited there as well to join their class and to have chats, to talk, in Russian, of course. To help them to feel a little bit more integrated with the people in East Germany, and for us obviously to have some interaction with these people as well. Because basically, we had the Soviet army, and there would have been, I don't know, I think it was 2 million soldiers that were stationed in East Germany, but they were really kept to themselves. They didn't mingle with the population at all.
Yeah.
So you saw them in the streets from time to time whenever they were allowed to get out, which didn't happen very often for them.
Yeah.
But that's about it. But then they just, they might have gone in the shops, and from the little money they had, they might have bought something, but they wouldn't have interacted with anyone. You wouldn't have seen them in the pubs. You wouldn't have seen them in the discos, in the clubs, and nothing like that. They weren't allowed to.
Right. They were just locked away in their barracks.
They were locked away in their barracks, and especially the conscripts in the Soviet army in East Germany treated, and probably worse in the Soviet Union, but and certainly in East Germany were treated very badly. Very, very bad sanitary conditions, and I've seen it, been in the army barracks, in the Soviet army barracks. That would never have happened like that, and would not have been like that in the East German army.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
And like I said, and particularly the way that the officers treated the conscript was shocking, So anyway, I had a fair bit of interaction there, and then actually when it came to when I was at the officer school as well, we had a Russian artillery partner regiment, which was stationed near Dresden. And I was that sort of liaison officer. Well, I wasn't an officer, but, liaison person with them because of Russian language skills.
Yeah.
So I had some interaction with them, but all more on the get together, have something to eat, chat, not on a military.
No.
Thing.
So it's more like a social basis,
more sort of social.
Yeah,
the odd meeting, not many meetings while in the army, but they were the odd ones. I had more meetings with Soviet army units during before I joined the army,
right?
Because of this Russian language club at school and the garrison in my hometown.
Okay.
So, but Soviet army guys, they didn't mingle. So,
So you mentioned that you had no idea at the time that regime change was coming. When were you first aware that something was happening?
Well, it's basically when we got back from the parade. So like I was sort of alluding to earlier, we were supposed to go on it's called a VKU, which is Verlängerter Kurzurlaub, which meant, going from, I think it was from Thursday to Tuesday morning, which is a long weekend, basically. And we were supposed to go on that. Immediately after, and that had been promised as a special treat, because we'd done the parade. And like I said, we got back to the officer college, dumped all our stuff, went on leave parade, I think it's called in English army or something like that. And you have to line up and to check that everything is in order, that, you've cleaned your room and your bed is made and you're presentable, your haircut is up to scratch and all that sort of stuff. That you have your Wehrdienstausweis, your military pass with all the right papers, that always checked before you were released into the wild out there. And that all happened, and then all of a sudden, we were standing there with luggage and ready to go on holiday, and they were telling us, but all leave cancelled. It's like high alert. Nobody is allowed to leave. we were told a little bit then about unrest and that there were things going on in Berlin and Dresden particularly.
Right.
That the army was basically put on high alert.
Yeah.
That was a shock. Yes. So that was really kind of the first time really that we know there was something serious going on.
Right.
Not just one or two little demonstrations somewhere.
Yeah.
There's something more serious going on. And that went on for, and I think we had leave cancelled probably for about 3 weeks, I guess. In total, 2 weeks, certainly. Because I think it was 20th of October when Erich Honecker stepped down and obviously Jon Krenz took over.
Mm-hmm.
And I think until that point, at that point we were still, all leave cancelled and couldn't go anywhere.
Right.
So it was really that time, from the parade, or from the 7th of October till about the 20th of October.
And then were you given leave on the 20th of October?
Shortly after.
Right.
Yes.
And was that just a long weekend as well, or?
I can't remember.
Right, okay.
It would have just been weekend. Yeah. I mean, if you had to leave, then it was, you got Kurzurlaub, you got verlängerte Kurzurlaub, and there was this Kurzurlaub, which just meant that we had school on Saturdays.
Yeah.
By the way,
right.
So like that in East Germany, all school teaching universities was Monday to Saturday. So at the officer school we also had school on Saturday. So this normally a weekend, which KU Kurzurlaub would have been, from Saturday after school, which would have been lunchtime till Monday morning 6:30. You had to be back. Right. So for me, there's a window cleaner now.
We're getting all the sound effects. Dogs, window cleaners, we're getting everything here.
Keep me entertained.
Yeah.
So look, there would have been, so at some point then we got leave again, but I can't remember now. Whether that was an extended leave or a short leave.
And were you then becoming a lot more aware that something serious was happening within the GDR?
Yes, because during that time, between the sort of, but during October basically, it's our, I was third year, so the fourth year guys from our school actually had to go out guarding the border with Czechoslovakia, because obviously people were leaving from East Germany across the border to Czechoslovakia, and the border of Czechoslovakia was not normally patrolled, not heavily patrolled anyway, very very lightly patrolled. It was actually fourth year officer students that had to go out then to at that point it all became known somehow. I'm not sure if it was because it was reported in East German television or just because from other sources.
Yeah.
I can't remember. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Where that information came from. But so we still wouldn't have known everything. But like I said, the fourth year guys, had to go out basically patrolling the border to Czechoslovakia. They started training us third year on police riot gear. So
right.
so we were starting to get little training, not much, but we were getting a little training on riot shields and buttons and the helmets were worn, but we were to be issued riot shields and buttons.
Right.
And basically the deal was that had there been some other unrest in Dresden, that we would have gone out to Dresden,
right.
The officer schools.
And how did you feel about that? That this wasn't fighting. Totally honest, this wasn't fighting NATO. This was
no. But at that point we were still obviously thinking that those guys that were doing the demonstrations and that were throwing rocks and stones and that they were wrong, that they were bad. So to be totally honest, the feeling among us at the time, then, different time, was bring it on, can't wait to get out there. Just obviously we had those discussions among ourselves, what would we do, basically the gist of it was, well, if somebody even tries to attack me, I want to hold back.
Yeah.
So we were in a way looking forward to it.
Yeah.
As a bit of fun. Well, not fun, but, action.
No, something different. Yeah.
Yeah, something different. And obviously we thought that those people were in the wrong.
Yeah.
And certainly that we did not think or know that those were the majority of the people, and we did not know that who those people were. As far as we were concerned, those people were criminals, asocial elements, drunks.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
People that just can't live with or in society. And so as far as we were concerned, they need to be stopped.
So
we would have gone out, yes. And we would have used the buttons.
Yeah. So that is towards the end of October, early November.
Sort of middle of October.
Middle of October.
Middle of October.
Okay. Yeah. And then what were you doing?
Middle end, yeah.
Through to, from October through to 9th of November. Was that you were still doing officer training?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah,
it was just business as usual.
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. The training, schooling, all that continued, of course.
Yeah.
Then crossing on the 20th of October, Erich Honecker stepped down. So that was the first sign of like, wow, what's going on here?
Yeah.
That really something serious there. At that point, actually, no, we didn't know all that much at that point. We still hadn't been told much. Yeah,
right.
It's sort of kind of coming back now.
Yeah.
To me, no, we hadn't really been told much. That was a surprise to us. So we didn't know anything about these things going on in the government or behind locked doors. And then come the 9th of November and the wall being opened by mistake. Didn't know anything about that until 3 days later.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. So
because it was only reported on East German television.
3 days later.
3 days later.
And that's how
nobody knew.
And that's how you learnt about it. Did you actually watch the TV broadcast, or did somebody come in and say?
I can't remember if I actually personally watched the TV broadcast. Probably did.
Yeah.
Usually tended to look at because we knew there was something going on.
Yeah.
Obviously, and but didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah.
And until I think it was 3 days later after the 9th, so it would have been the 12th.
Yeah.
12th or 13th of November that it was officially announced.
Right.
In East Germany and in the East German news that basically the gist was that travel restrictions have been relaxed and blah blah blah. And then eventually it transpired that actually they've opened the borders.
Yeah.
We didn't know that.
Right. And then
they deliberately kept us in the dark, of course. So,
they wanted to keep you how can I put it, ideologically pure, probably.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes, because obviously, but if we had known that really was what was going on, and really that like it was quite a popular movement, uprising, if you want to call it that, then obviously, we might have had second thoughts.
Yeah.
About going out there and stopping what was going on there. So we didn't have a clue.
Yeah. And then what happened after then? Did it all suddenly start falling apart, or was it much more gradual?
No, not gradual at all. No, it very rapidly started falling apart then. Very, very rapidly.
Can you tell me how it fell apart? What happened?
Basically, there was something new, something different every day. So there were revelations every day. And then the East German media started reporting it as well. Of course. So all of a sudden, it was like actual real coverage of what was going on. And there was something new every day. There was something new about the party leadership. There were new things about the Stasi that people knew that Stasi existed, but didn't really know to what extent. Nobody knew that.
Yeah.
And there was a lot then going on more about how the leadership lived.
Oh, in Wandlitz.
Yes. So there was a lot about Wandlitz and how really they lived there and what it was really like and what they did every day. There was a lot about that. And there was like I said, then a lot about the Stasi. So that the focus would have been on Wandlitz in the news, in the media all the time, and then new revelations every day, and about the Stasi.
Yeah. And what about the army? I mean, was that sort of, did the discipline get lax? And
we had our own demonstrations as well within the army, even at the officers' school. Because basically we demanded, would have been, it must have been in November.
Right. But you realised you realised that you could be more honest about your protests, about I don't know
what's going on.
Yeah.
Yes, and we did have meetings and we did go out and we did en masse at officer students who we think would be politically correct and who would have been, but basically we knew we were being deliberately kept in the dark and we did go out and like have own little demonstrations within the officer school or officer college, basically just demanding to be told what's going on.
Yeah.
and was that listened to? Not really. But eventually then, all of the information sort of became public anyway and seeped out. And then we got to know what's going on. There were meetings in town then in Zittau, we still got then leave in town, just weren't allowed to leave the town. But there were meetings then in town in Zittau, there were small demonstrations there. There were meetings at the civilian university college in Zittau. I went to those meetings just to people spoke there about the change and about these demonstrations and movements. And I went to those, I went to those meetings and sat in there just to know what's this all about, what do these people want.
And that was Neues Forum and
people like Neues
that.
Forum. Yes. Demokratischer Aufbruch, Neues Forum. So people like that. Yes. So I went to meetings as an officer student. I just remember there was certainly there were, I think it was 2 meetings maybe I went to at the college in town, civilian college in town.
And following those revelations, how did you feel about the regime and how much energy you'd put into
it took a while to accept that the change was right, if you know what I mean.
And it was permanent, that the change was permanent?
Well, at that point you still didn't know. Nobody knew that actually the state would completely effectively collapse or that the army would collapse, in 1989. That only became sort of more clear later on in 1990. But certainly took a while to get our heads around that the situation has changed. It did take a while. It didn't happen overnight. No, it did take some convincing. Because we thought, where we were was our country. It's where we were born, where we grew up. That's who we are. So, and all of a sudden to be told, well, that's no longer relevant, and everything that state did was wrong. That doesn't happen. That doesn't sink in overnight. And like I said, and we didn't have this lead in, like my parents, for example, they would have watched, they would have seen all these things unfold on West German television, West German news. They would have seen it for months. Had seen being reported what was happening in East Germany, the demonstrations going on, etc. Well, I knew nothing about that. Nothing.
It was almost overnight. You were suddenly faced with your whole world imploding, really.
Totally. Yes.
Wow.
And everything happened very suddenly. Yes, and like I said, kind of an exciting time to have lived through.
Absolutely.
To be totally honest. And it's very difficult to describe that over another course, because you can't understand it unless you've lived through it. But this constant change, the constant news, constant revelations, something different every day. Every day you woke up, it's like, well, wonder what's the news today.
Well, that's all for the moment, but there is a 3rd episode of Torsten's story, so stay tuned. In the show notes, there's video of the 40th anniversary parade, which is well worth a viewing, and a still photo showing Torsten in the parade. The show notes are at coldwarconversations.com. Just click on the episodes and show notes option. If you can't wait till the next episode, do join our Facebook discussion group where there's loads of Cold War information and further discussions with our listeners and guests. Just go to coldwarconversations.com and click on the Join the Discussion option. We're also on Twitter at Cold War Pod and Instagram as well, which is at Cold War Conversations. Lastly, if you like what you're hearing, do leave reviews on iTunes or share us via social media. It really helps to increase awareness of the podcast. For our outgoing music, I leave you with Parade March number 1 of the East German Army, which is well worth a listen. Thank you very much for listening and supporting the podcast. It's really appreciated. Goodbye.